Welcome to today's episode of An Interesting Case. If you are a returning viewer, welcome back, and if you're new, also welcome, and I hope you'll find the video interesting. If you do, please like the video, leave a comment, and subscribe for more videos like it. Also, please be aware that if you want to read a written account of this case, the case is available in blog format, along with the links to the source materials used at bylawhelp.com. So, now on to today's case. It's more of an update, to be precise. It is the case of defamation and the dangerous dog, or to use its correct legal name, Suzette versus the Regional District of Central Okanagan. It is the case of a standard poodle named Charlie and his owners, Mr. Ian Suzette and Mrs. Marguerite Suzette. The case is actually a continuation of sorts, as we have covered this family and their dog in previous episodes of An Interesting Case. The Suzettes and Charlie had a series of incidents where they came into conflict with other animals, people, and the law over the years, and I won't go into all of them in detail here because that has been covered in the other episodes. And there will be links down in the description of the video below if you want to see those videos for the full story. However, I will briefly summarize the key points of the previous incidents because they are relevant to today's case. The series of unfortunate incidents involving Charlie the Poodle began on a day in January 2020 when he was 1 year old. On that winter day, Mr. Ian Suzette was exercising Charlie and two other dogs of his off leash on a field on the campus of Okanagan College in Kelowna, British Columbia. Charlie was a full-size standard poodle, a breed of dogs commonly around 40 to 70 pounds in weight in their adulthood. As it happened, a woman named Miss Melanie Michaels was walking her small dog, who weighed less than 10 pounds, named Spike, on a public sidewalk adjacent to the field, and Mr. Suzette's three dogs decided to run over to her and her pet. Charlie charged at Spike, took the smaller dog up in his jaws, and shook him violently, breaking Spike's jaw in the process. This incident was witnessed by a passing motorist who stopped her vehicle and came over to check on Miss Michaels and her dog. Mr. Suzette then called his dogs back to him, loaded the three animals into his vehicle, and drove away from the scene without speaking to Ms. Michaels. At the time, Ms. Michaels did not know Mr. Suzette's identity, and when he left without identifying himself or speaking to her, this would lead to her later speculating it was to avoid responsibility. And indeed, Judicial Justice Burgess of the provincial court would come to the same conclusion in later legal proceedings in provincial court. Following the incident, Miss Michaels took Spike to the veterinarian for surgery to correct his broken jaw, but this surgery was not entirely successful, and Spike ended up with a permanently twisted jaw and an inability to eat hard food. And Miss Michaels also ended up with roughly $6,000 in veterinary costs. Ms. Michaels also reported the dog attack to the Regional District of Central Okanagan, the local government responsible for providing animal control services where the incident occurred. Their animal control officer investigated and ended up identifying Mr. Suzette as the owner of Charlie. The officer then decided to issue Mr. Suzette with a written notice informing him that he had determined Charlie to be a dangerous dog, pursuant to the regional district's responsible dog ownership bylaw and the provincial community charter, and that Mr. Suzette was required to take certain measures to prevent further attacks involving Charlie, including but not limited to keeping him in a secure enclosure and posting a warning sign on his property. Sometime after that notice, the officer also decided to issue Mr. Suzette with a $1,000 ticket for allegedly violating Section 36 of the bylaw by causing or permitting Charlie to become a dangerous dog. In the days after the incident, Mr. Michaels also began to take steps to identify the owner of the dog which had attacked Spike. She went to the college campus security office and asked whether they had any video of the incident, but they did not. She also would make a post on Facebook asking for help in identifying the dog owner, and later she would give an interview to the media. Also, sometime around this point, Mr. Suzette and his wife had someone deliver a note to Spike's owner, Miss Michaels. The note apologized for the incident, and the envelope also contained $200 in cash, which the note stated was to cover the cost of having Miss Michaels' dog checked up on by a veterinarian. It is worth noting that it is not clear whether the Suzettes were aware of the extent of Spike's injuries or Ms. Michaels' veterinary costs at this point, but it is also worth noting that the note was unsigned and did not contain a name or any other information that would allow Ms. Michaels to identify the Suzettes. Some time then passed as Mr. Suzette and his disputed $1,000 ticket would not end up going to trial in the Provincial Court of British Columbia until February 2021, a full year after the incident. However, in the time before that trial, Mr. Suzette and Mrs. Suzette decided that they were unhappy with how they were being portrayed by certain persons in the community over the dog attack. They believed that Ms. Michaels, in her online postings and her interview with the media, was saying things that were painting them in a bad light. And so in January 2021, they had a lawyer issue a letter to Ms. Michaels. In court documents that Ms. Michaels would later file, she stated the letter alleged that she was defaming the Suzettes with the public statements she had made. She stated that the letter demanded she take down the Facebook posting and also have the news story about the dog talk taken down, and additionally issue a written apology to the Suzettes. If Ms. Michaels did not comply with the letter's demands, it warned that she would face legal action from the Suzettes. No such retraction or apology was forthcoming from Ms. Michaels, though, and she went ahead with testifying as a witness against Mr. Suzette in his trial over the $1,000 ticket. After that trial, Judicial Justice Burgess of the Provincial Court found Mr. Suzette guilty and upheld the ticket. It should be noted, though, that Mr. Suzette would go on to appeal this conviction to the Supreme Court of British Columbia, and that court would overturn his conviction, deciding that the judicial justice in the provincial court had applied the wrong legal test. Although the Supreme Court refused to overturn the designation of Mr. Suzette's dog as a dangerous dog, which indicates the animal control officer's decision to declare the dog dangerous was appropriate. We won't go into that appeal here as we don't have time, but you can look for more information on that in part 2 of our series titled The Problematic Poodle if you want more details. There's a link in the description of the video below. In August 2021, the Suzettes filed the paperwork to commence a lawsuit in the Supreme Court of BC against Ms. Michaels. It alleged she had committed defamation by making statements online and to the media. For example, the lawsuit alleged she had been portraying the Suzettes as irresponsible owners with bad character and of making it seem like they were trying to avoid accountability. They went on to claim that there had been no need for Miss Michaels to go public with the appeal for the identity of Mr. Suzette because the animal control officer had known his identity and it was alleged that he would have shared this information with Miss Michaels. The lawsuit was not only aimed at Ms. Michaels, though, they also named the Regional District of Central Okanagan and the Animal Control Officer as co-defendants, accusing them of wrongdoing. Various allegations of improper investigation techniques, invasion of privacy, and defamation were made against the Regional District and its Animal Control Officer that I won't get into here due to time constraints, but perhaps we will investigate that another time. For now, we will focus on the defamation allegations against Ms. Michaels. In response to the Suzette lawsuit, which was filed later in August 2021, Ms. Michaels stated that her efforts to identify Mr. Suzette had been legitimate, and the animal control officer had not shared his identity with her. She indicated that she had only learned his name when his lawyer had sent her the letter in January 2021 demanding she issue a retraction and apology for her public statements. She also denied suggestions that there was any sort of collusion between her and the animal control officer to besmirch the Suzette's reputation, as had been suggested in the lawsuit. She asserted her motives in going public with her story had been to identify Mr. Suzette and out of genuine concern that his dog might pose a danger to other animals. Further, she claimed that since Mr. Suzette had left the scene of the dog attack without speaking to her, it was reasonable to believe that that he may have been attempting to avoid accountability. Some months then went by as various motions and applications were dealt with in the lawsuit before it could go to trial. In fact, some years went by, and during this time, the Suzettes and Charlie the Poodle were continuing to have other legal troubles. Actually, to be precise, other legal troubles had begun for the Suzettes before they even filed their lawsuit in August 2021, because in July 2021, there had been another dog attack involving Charlie. On July 18th of that month, Charlie had been in another incident where he grabbed a smaller dog in his mouth, a Yorkshire Terrier named Nala, and violently shook it, causing injuries. That incident would lead to Charlie being seized by animal control officers and Mr. Suzette being prosecuted again. But as before, we don't have the ability to go into depth for that case here. So if you would like more information on that, you can check out part 3 of the Problematic Poodle series. With regards to the defamation lawsuit against Ms. Michaels, that would not see any substantial movement until July 2023, when Justice Wetherill of the Supreme Court dismissed the Suzette lawsuit against her. To boil it down, the justice found the Suzette's claims of defamation were without merit, and so dismissed the case. However, the other part of the lawsuit alleging various forms of misconduct against the regional district would continue and is still ongoing as of the time of writing this blog. So what are my takeaways from all this? Well, I'm not sure other than that dog owners can be very protective of their animals and willing to go to great lengths to defend them against what, in their eyes at least, are persons who are maligning them. Some are even willing to launch legal actions over the matter and accuse people of defamation for speaking out about incidents of violence involving their pets. At the end of the day, Ms. Michaels was vindicated and the lawsuit against her dismissed, but she still had to go to court and hire a lawyer to defend herself. So speaking out came with a cost. And there ends our case for today. Thank you for watching. I hope you found the video interesting, and if you did and you haven't already, please consider taking the time to leave a comment and subscribe for more videos like this. Until next time, take care.